Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So we want to show you today some new capabilities we're bringing from Docker. Gary and I are here to give you an idea of where Docker is headed from the space around federated app management and how you would use that with EKS. Let me start with a quick overview of who we are. Many of you have heard about Docker. We're container runtime, yes. But we think about the world slightly differently. We think about making sure developers and operators can build, ship, and run any application anywhere, which means we think about not just cloud-native apps or microservices or IoT devices. We also think about traditional apps. So .NET, Java, all the old stuff also can benefit from a container environment. And we're building out the platform to provide those capabilities so that you can run those on any infrastructure and on EKS. With that, let's talk about federated app management. This is a new capability we're looking to bring with EKS. In particular, we're looking at the problem space around how developers and operators can keep both an inventory and manage the application portfolio they have that may be running on their Docker environments as well as on EKS, and make sure that they can get those environments from their on-premise into EKS, so getting a hybrid environment working, as well as being able to migrate those workloads up to EKS, and then being able to take an inventory of those workloads as they exist on EKS, manage them, and then be able to migrate and burst across EKS clusters. So we're going to show you this functionality today. It's going to be available in beta later this year, and it's something we'd like to demo for you. As a part of this federated app management, I'll just mention briefly the second piece that's really important that we're not going to show today, but is an important part of how we're bringing this solution together, is thinking about secure content. So content is really important in a container environment. All of your containers are built from an image. We provide today a secure supply chain that allows you to take your code, build it into a Docker container, sign it, scan it, understand what's running in that container, and then be able to audit the entire process end to end. We do that with a set of services called our Docker Trusted Registry. As a part of those capabilities, we're able to federate content across EKS zones and across EKS clusters, and we're able to make sure that that secure federation for your content follows your runtime as well. So with that, let's go to the demo.
Excellent.
I'll hand it over to Gary.
All right, let's get started here. Kind of get this reduced. Okay, so here's kind of the interface from the perspective of the GUI and the operations management. So what we have is a software interface that shows us kind of the examples of containers and systems that we're running, as well as this is the clusters that are defined underneath this management tool. And then on the far right here are the registries that we entrust for enablement, as we were talking about earlier. We have to kind of think about the secure management delivery of those applications. So what I have is a couple clusters running. This is actually Amazon EKS West Coast. This is EKS East Coast. And this is a kind of just an on-prem Kubernetes cluster. And then with this environment right here, you can see that my on-prem UCP cluster is running my application. And if I dig into my application, I can see that that is where that cluster is, or where that application is running inside that cluster. All right. So now I want to move this from on-prem into an EKS target. All I need to do is select the application, oops, and click Migrate. And then from my origin cluster, I click my origin cluster, and then the target that I want to move that cluster to. So in this case, I'm moving it from one cluster to the EKS East. And we see that we have a migration successful. And if we look now into my EKS East cluster, we shall get that environment up and running as soon as we get a response. And you can see now my environment is now running in EKS East, and it's no longer, as soon as we get our latencies taken care of.
While this is loading, I'm going to ask the question that I think everybody's thinking. Pets app, really?
Yes.
I mean, how old is this app? Is this going to work for new apps, microservices. Is this going to work for existing like Java, .NET apps? What does this work for?
Absolutely. It kind of works for any app that we can containerize. So whether it's a traditional .NET app, whether it's a brand new, old school, single tier, complex environment, yes, this is designed to run whatever we need to do and manage it from a centralized location.
Nice.
Yep. All right. So we can see now that that service has been removed from this cluster and is now running EKS East.
Now, Gary, the other thing. Gary, the other thing I know is that Docker's based out of San Francisco. So I've got to expect we've got an EKS West out there.
Yes, absolutely, we sure do.
Nice. Can we onboard
Yeah, it's
that?
all set up and ready to go, but we still have to enable a trust so we can actually manage that cluster. So let's go ahead and add EKS West. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a. And then what I'm doing is I'm creating a token and authenticating this against my primary interface. So we'll let this run. There's a couple second lag time here.
And Gary, will this work for any EKS cluster? Will this, as they expand regions, as I create my own EKS clusters, can I just onboard them quickly into this?
Absolutely can.
Even with my existing apps?
Even with your existing apps. Right. That is correct. So we'll let this authenticate in, and as soon as that does, we shall get a cluster update. It's not there yet. Gotta love live demo lag. I apologize for that. Here we go. We're authenticating the tokens. We're pushing that information back. And now we've created the services. And if we refresh our clusters, we should have an EKS West. So now, let's move this application from EKSE to EKS West because we're having some load average or some movement that we want to do that. So now all we have to do is back into our application, migrate this application again from our EKS East to our EKS West. And then as we go back to our content here, and we do our service describes again. Oh, did not want to do that. We shall see that EKS East is going to slowly spin down those containers, and then EKS West will spin up those containers. Here they go.
Nice.
EKS West now is running that environment, and EKS East has shut it down.
So what if I want to run this on both clusters? Because, I never want to run with a single zone. I want to have multiple availability zones. I might have geographies that I'm serving. What
Absolutely. We have that functionality. We already thought through that process.
Nice.
So remember, we have our cluster description here. Now let's go ahead and just deploy this cluster or this environment again to EKS East. And if we click deploy, now we will see the application itself running on 2 clusters. And if we do our service describe again, now we have that application running here, and we have the application running there.
Nicely done.
That's it.
All right. Just the last announcement. If you want to get access, you can join our beta program for Federated App Management at beta.docker.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Come
you.
on
Thank you.
over.
Appreciate it.
So I have 2 questions. One of them is actually from Twitch, and one of them is for me, and I'm going to go first because I'm like that. So I want to know, so for those of us that are not familiar with Federation, can you explain really quickly why is it important? Why is that something that I need to implement?
Yeah, for most environments, you're not running in one environment that's monolithic that you have all of your applications in. So this is really a way, as we've heard from customers, of getting an inventory of all of the environments that they have. Now, you may be running across availability zones. You may separate environments because of SLAs. You may separate them because it's dev test versus production. There's any number of reasons, regulatory included, that you want to separate these environments, but you still need to manage them from one place so that you know what's running in either environment.
Awesome, thank you. And then the question from Twitch They mentioned old apps, like .NET, not .NET Core. How can that be containerized? And is this some sort of virtual kubelet implementation?
Yeah, that's a great question. You
No,
wanna take it?
and absolutely. So
I apologize for my hat.
that's okay. It's all good. The old existing applications, as long as there's a framework that we can build the containers onto and then dependencies within the container runtime environment, then we can build those software or stacks inside those containers. So it's going to be very descriptive on how deep, how old that .NET framework is, and how modern or how much we can modernize that environment. But we are starting to see some really old application stacks being deployed within containers. Yeah.
And we have an entire program called the Modernized Traditional Apps Program, or MTA, not the train, but the actual program, software program. So we have a program that provides advisory services as well as capabilities that help customers get up to speed on taking those apps.
You mean
and
that
putting
Mike
them
Irwin and I wearing dinosaur outfits was not the full program?
That was not the full program.
That was not
but
the
it was
full
a good
program.
example of the types of apps that need to get
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You're going to head right back over there and see Chris with your microphone.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.